Good morning. It's a brand new week, and this is a new edition of the program Summit coming to you on MITV. My name is Jumoke Michaels. You're welcome. Banji, good to be back here.
Yeah, Jumoke, good to be back here. Did you miss me on Wednesday?
Yes, I did, and I assured everyone you'll be back here on Monday, and here you
yes,
are.
yes, that's good. That's integrity. I'm here.
Yeah.
And that's actually to lend credence to your promise to have you. My name is Banji Busari. It's the fresh edition of our program Summit. You're welcome.
All right, so issues and incidences of insecurity is in no way abating across Nigeria, and its effect on our economy is better left imagined. And I was in the market on Saturday, and truly, I started weeping because of the expensive. Everything is just expensive. Let me call it that way, and it truly grieved my heart. That, well, if people like us who you say can still afford things could feel this bad, how about people who are on the low ladder? It's really sad, and that's why this morning we'll be looking at fixing the twin issues of insecurity and economy. But I'm sorry, Banji, I'm a bit emotional this morning.
Yeah.
Just allow me.
But then Jumoke, if you ask people, when people lament about the state of our economy, that inflation is galloping now, some other people will tell you, is that not better than losing your life? I mean, the fact that you can still get those items, no matter how costly they are, is better than those people living in far north or other places that have serious security challenges. That living and being alive is maybe better than complaining about galloping inflation. But then both are intertwined. One led to the other. Things were not this bad in the past. I mean, farmers could, stay on their farms and produce and bring commodities, items to town. I mean, that's getting to become something of the past. Farmers are now relocating to, coming to town where they are sure of at least a little bit amount of safety. So the twin issues of economy and insecurity are intertwined. Of course, that's why we deemed it fit to bring somebody who can actually throw a little bit of light on how and why we found ourselves where we are and how we can exit this serious challenge. So that's our focus.
Yeah, all right. So we have with us in the studio this morning an attorney at law and also a public affairs analyst, Mr. Joe Eboegbe. You're welcome, sir.
I'm sure you passed that test.
Yes, I got it, I'm sure, because you took time to pronounce that name.
Yes, you did.
All right,
thank you for having me in your studio. And I want to, first of all, before we go into the meat of the discussion, say to Nigerians that all hopes are not lost. These are trying times, these are difficult times, these are challenging times. But we must wake up every day believing that there still is hope, and that will help us to survive these very difficult times. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Banji.
So just as Jumoke said in our intro, the issue of insecurity has not abated. On a daily basis, we hear of challenges. If somebody was asking me, how was Buhari able to spend a whole day in Borno without being attacked, either his convoy or himself, whoever, that the governor of the state has been attacked twice, but the president was there and spent 24 hours. And that person was asking me, what magic wand actually happened for president to have actually gone there without any incident of attack. It has become a daily occurrence, and no region is spared. So the first question is, with the change of the service chiefs and several strategies, why is it that the problem is still where we are, probably getting worse?
Okay, first of all, I would say I'm not a security expert, but as long as you live in Nigeria, you are having to interface with this insecurity problem every day of our lives. And in my very humble view, I think the major problem we have with security is insincerity. An average Nigerian is continually insincere in his dealings. Now, you could change the service chiefs. You could bring a cent in, and then once he's not able to act through the ranks, the insecurity will even worsen. We all had our ears to the ground with the incident that happened to the ex-wife chief of army staff. And this is the head of the military, the Nigerian Army institution as far as this country is concerned, or he was. And when you expect these soldiers, the lower ranks, to go out there, these are the people who instill in them morals and the drive to fight, the wanting to risk their life at the expense of every other Nigerian. And this man lost his life in service with other generals. And we saw the shabby way he was, his burial was accorded by the presidency. Now, permit me to digress a bit. I have consistently had this problem with presidency and presidents. Whenever I say presidency, until recently, I meant the persons, the unseen persons handling the president. Of course, for 6 years, we only saw our president last week. Was it last week? He came around, made that broadcast with a particular TV station, and then we saw him in Lagos. And then now in Borno, as you said. You see, the presidency, the handlers of the president, did not accord the basic respect to this man who have consistently been heard to be a distinguished gentleman, a general in the Nigerian army, and who died in course of this. So how then do you expect the other lieutenants around him to put in that much of effort and sacrifices in fighting insecurity? That's on the one hand. Then every now and then we hear the military budget and how XYZ billion is stolen, this other million was stolen, and to this date, no retired, serving ex-politician or military general has been sentenced to jail for the military budget. These monies were supposed to be used for weapons. We also hear how the Air Force helicopters or planes will crash one after the other. There's no investigation. Nobody knows what is happening to those airplanes. And then you're saying that Buhari went to Borno. When the president came to Lagos, the entire Ikeja was shut down. I could not go to my office that day. So the forces and the personnel with which these chosen few used to protect themselves is enormous. And once they concentrate that energy on protecting these gods amongst us, it becomes impossible to protect ordinary Nigerians. So even if Buhari has spent 48 hours in Borno, I'm sure the entire sky will be covered. The Boko Haram will know that if they come out, they will meet a force that will match them, and then they will go into hiding. And then the very ignorant Nigerians will run around him because we celebrate some leaders for reasons that I may not be able to expound here. You know, I know of a truth that every Nigerian that is not in that small circle of ruling class is feeling the pinch of the economic downturn and the political insecurity in Nigeria. If that is true, how then did we see that crowd running around President Buhari in Borno State? That is hypocrisy, and that is our problem.
All right. Like you mentioned in your statement, we had the privilege of having the president talk to us in the last 1 or 2 weeks, and he still emphasized the fact that he has not reneged on his promises on security, economy, and improving the overall quality of citizens' lives by lifting many out of poverty. Could this be a political pretense or genuine concern or genuine insensitivity to the pulse of the people on the streets?
It could be all of that. But more importantly, to me, it is gross disrespect to Nigerians. If I don't know where the presidency, the markets that the presidency or the gods of the presidency operate from. I don't know the streets that they drive to their houses. I don't know the houses that they live. But if they are Nigerians and they have been here for the past 6 years, and then they say that they are pursuing this course, then it's either they will need, with the kindest respect to them, they will need an urgent mental evaluation. I mean, that is putting it mildly. Because you cannot say to us that you are pursuing a course for 6 years and we are in the worst state we have ever been. We woke up this morning and saw that pounds was 207 naira to naira was 207 naira to pounds, and the dollars is out there, and they are telling me about you are continuing in your quest to make Nigeria a better place economically and security-wise. Which Nigerian that is not in that class can freely drive from here to Edo State, for instance, and not live in constant fear? But you know what they do? They have created a regime to insulate themselves from the problems. So they do not interface with these problems. If they are to come to Lagos and maybe they want to visit Ebute Metta, they will land in Lagos and use a chopper to Ebute Metta. So how then do you explain to them the traffic situation from Ikeja to Ebute Metta? They will not know. If they are to go to Benin, for instance, they and their friends will charter an airplane and fly to Benin. So how then do you explain to him that somewhere along the Ondo axis, everybody lives in constant fear and prayers to cross over? If they were to go to Borno as they did, they would send a team, an advanced team, to go and scout and counter an entire environment. So how then would they know that the persons who live here every day of their life are not safe? They will not know. Do you think, in fairness, that they will go to any market to buy food? They will not go. So how then would they know that the bag of rice that was, let's say, 12,000 naira some years back is not 40 or 28,000 naira? They will not know. They do not live with us. They are not part of us. So they cannot understand the pain that we feel. And again, it is regrettable that year in, year out, we'll roll out these issues, cry over it, scream, but after 4 years, we will again gather around them for peanuts and re-elect them.
Yes, taking it from where you actually ended your submission. You said we lament, we criticize, we agitate.
Yes.
Then at the end of their tenure, we still rally around them and maybe return them to power. Yes. Or maybe replace them with somebody who may not even do as well as the one we have. Now, are you aware that NADECO, the SY NADECO, National Democratic Coalition, the General Secretary,
Mr.
Ayo Kwadoku,
yes.
The body has actually written a letter to an SOS, Save Our Soul letter to the President. And that body has copied all the international institutions, UN, all the House of Commons, the their own equivalent of National Assembly, US and all that, calling them to intervene urgently in view of the deteriorating situation of security in Nigeria. what magic do we think any intervention would actually create here?
My brother, you see, over time I have criticized our colonial attitude. The great fella would call it colonial mentality or colo mentality. You see, Nigeria is a sovereign state. There is no problem, or there are no problems in Nigeria today that cannot be solved by Nigerians. Yes, doing a letter to the presidency or to the president, as it were.
To the president, not the president.
You will pardon me because
in Nigeria, those two words.
No, to the president.
It's the same.
you will pardon me because we are always getting confused on as to who speaks to us, whether it's the president or the presidency.
Or the presidency.
Now let's say to the president. Mr. Ayo Padokun is an elder statesman, a very respected Nigerian who, during the Nadeko fight, made a lot of sacrifice to take us out of the darkness of the military era. But that was it. Now, we cannot keep writing letters. When we write when we should act, they would know in their circle that we are toothless.
Helpless.
Yes, we
Helpless and toothless.
present a posture of total helplessness. Because why do I have to write when tomorrow you will be here praising the president? Now, who are you writing to? When the Americans had their challenges with Donald Trump, they did not write to our National Assembly to come help them solve their problem. They went to the polls and they voted him out. That's what they did. Now, if British had that, as we speak now, the entire United Kingdom are having issues with their Prime Minister, they are calling him out. So why would we write to a group of persons who do not have votes in Nigeria to come solve our problems? Now that is sickening. It is not just with Nadeko. That has been the trend. Not too far ago, the presidents,
Sarah Botu also.
the presidents and heads of government of Africa gathered in France before a 43 years old man who presides over that country. They gathered to discuss the problem of Africa and they prayed for solutions from a 43 years old man. These are men who are in their 80s on an average and who have so much disrespect for the Nigerian youth, who will not be considered a 43 years old man to lead this country. But here they were, cap in hand, went to this man and tabled their problems and pleaded for solutions. That is what, for me, Nadeko has just done. Now, would that solve a problem? No, it wouldn't. I am maybe shocked that Nadeko is still alive. They have been silent for a while. I think their fight was just to enthrone democracy, which they contributed a great deal. I expect every Nigerian, every single Nigerian who can write, who can speak, who can walk, to save this country by everything we do. Let's wake up every morning and draw a chart on what we think we can do, not just writing, what we think we can physically do to help this country out of the darkness that is about befalling us. Because genuinely I'm hopeful, but I'm scared and worried, as I think every Nigerian should be.
All right, even looking at the so-called intervention that we expect from like UN, UK, US, and France. You see, let me use maybe Chad and Mali as an example, because those countries had issues, and until things went out of hand, we did not hear that UN intervened in any way. And now we're trying to follow the same route. We are trying to do the same things. Well, these bodies themselves, do they really have the capacity? Thank God you're an attorney at law. You'll be able to define that holistically for us. Do they actually have the capacity, the strength, the wherewithal to intervene in other countries' challenges like that? Because we seem to believe so much in them.
No, they do not. I started by saying that we're a sovereign state. We're not in crisis. We're not at war. So we cannot seek
But that
intervention.
letter was an SOS.
Yeah.
Save our soul.
The SOS was to the president, and for whatever reason, just for publicity stunt, if you ask me, they copied everybody they felt could help them talk to the president. I want to believe, because I read through the letter, they were not addressing the UN or the EU, they just copied them. I want to believe that they do not intend, because I would think that a man of Mr. Opatokun's standing and a legal practitioner would know better not to seek external intervention to the political, not crisis, political challenges of a sovereign state. That is not within the purview of the United Nations. But having said that, what that would do is to create awareness that, oh, we're having challenges here. I do not think we need the much external awareness as we need internal awareness. We are the persons who would, in 2 years' time, go again and elect one of their likes. Now, before I round up with your question, let me quickly say that we live in a country where we tend to compare worse for worse. You know, I've listened in several places where people tend to compare the Goodluck Jonathan's government and what we have today. And I asked them, they both failed. Why are you comparing two failures? But because over time we have always degenerated, it just gets worse for Nigeria. If we do not do something now, by 2023, we will most likely elect one of their types, who will most likely be worse than what we have today. And then 4 years down the line, we'll say, oh, look at what this man is doing. In Buhari's time, rice was 28,000 naira. Look at nice, it's 100,000 naira. And then we begin to rate them, and then the man we condemn today will begin to praise in future, which is what we do every other time.
Okay, since we seem to have more or less discountenanced the idea of foreign intervention,
Yes.
let me just ask you, quite recently, the religious body,
Yes.
please remind me the name.
We can.
Yeah,
So it's
not
not
can, I'll remember the name over time. Called for a kind of a local solution, that the National Assembly could actually commence a process for the impeachment of the president. Is the problem presidential? Is it just about President Muhammadu Buhari? Or what do you think about that approach?
Yes, it is within the right of any group to call their elected representative. Now specifically, every state have elected representatives at the national level. It's within their right to call their representative or their senators and say, look, I think this regime has failed us. I think this regime is selective. I think this regime is leading us into the dark corners of the world. Commence impeachment proceedings against this man. It's within their rights. Now, would that solve our problem? I doubt. Seriously. Seriously. Because I do not think, much as I know that the presidency, I don't want to say the president before.
Which one do you mean? This type
The
of
presidency. If I say the president, they could come after me. Much as
even you are afraid.
oh, I am not afraid, but I know that they could come so that I prepare their mind that I met the presidency. Now, much as the presidency is seen to be bereaved of any solution to the problems bedeviling Nigeria as it stands, I do not think it is just on him. And I'll give you a clear reason why I do not think so. For 9 weeks, lawyers were all at home. Just no strike, judicial autonomy. The governors of the states deliberately, wickedly, arrogantly refuse to implement a constitutional provision, the constitution they swore to defend. And then they were negotiating constitutional provision, which for me is nauseating. You can negotiate what is expressly written in the Constitution and for which the Supreme Court has delivered 3 judgments. And they said they would not accept judicial autonomy. And I was worried. For that reason, the economy plummeted. In Ikeja alone, we lost some lawyers. Some lawyers were reduced to cab riders or drivers. And then, that is not Mr. Buhari. That's not the president. I'll give you again. During the NSAS crisis,
You could have, of course, mentioned the issue of financial autonomy for local governments too.
yeah, during the NSAS crisis, or so thereafter, there was this mad rush on palliatives from the warehouses, where people discovered that there were warehouses all over the country. Now, it was not in APC states alone. It was both in APC, PDP, Christian, Muslims, pagans, northerners, southerners, easterners, all the governors, the ruling class. They had these palliatives stacked in their warehouses. So at that point, it became obvious to me that it is not just the presidency. And it will be irresponsible not to point this out, that the war in Nigeria is between, cutting across all political ranks and religion and tribes, is between the ruling class, the few elements in the ruling class against the entire Nigerians. So whether you see them in the colors of umbrella or brooms, to me they are one and the same persons. And their target is simply...
Would you be fair to somebody like the governor of Borno State, for instance?
Yes.
If you say the ruling class against the rest of us, this man himself could have also fallen a victim.
Of what?
The governor of Borno, he was attacked twice. At the time he ran for his dear life.
Yes, it is easier to say he could have fallen victim when he was attacked twice. Yes, the governor of a state is just one individual. He's a Nigerian. I must clarify that. There's nothing special about wearing the toga of governor. Every day Nigerians die. Every single day. Every day in his states. In that Borno state, Nigerians are killed every day. He could just have been one of them. He was attacked. Big deal. But is it not the same governor that said that President Buhari has done exceptionally well and better than all before him? So how would it be unfair to say that they belong to one camp? My brother. That man on the streets, that woman frying akara by the junction, the vulcanizer, the keke man that rides on this your road, their lives are as valuable as that of the president. Until we begin to think in that light, we will not make headway in this country. So let us not put names to offices, temporary offices, that are supposed to be for service of these persons. When you do right, you will know in your conscience that you have done right. I have nothing against this government, but I will speak the truth, or my truth, as I would like to say. I will speak my truth as I know it to be, to say that this government has failed Nigerians in all its promises.
Okay, let's take the discourse a bit further. Now, in that same letter I referred to earlier, the Save Our Soul letter, the NADECO was actually agitating for a return to the 1960-63 constitution, that it was more people-oriented than the current one that was foisted on us by military and all that. Do you believe that's our solution?
Okay, I had said that the Nadeko letter was a beautiful write-up, and you see, they could leave that analysis to those who were not learning or learned as at when this constitution was birthed on Nigeria. You see, the military junta did not write the constitution, with the kindest respect. You had, and you have always had, constitutional assemblies. It is not a man in khaki. Everything the military junta did, they assembled civilians, learned minds, engineers, Nigerians, everyday Nigerians on the street. They assembled and they preferred a constitution. So if we come out and say, oh, let us jettison this constitution, would that work? Maybe, selectively. For me, I have posited over time that if we weaken the central and empower the federated units, the problem of this country will be solved largely. And I'll tell you why. When you make the center less lucrative, and you make governance, public office less lucrative, only those who genuinely want to serve will come on board. If you pay a senator what a professor earns, he will decide whether he wants to sit down and deliberate on motions, or have dinners and have lunches, or he wants to engage in his private practice somewhere in the States. But if those who genuinely think about Nigeria and wants to provide solution will sit there and manage their time so that they can also do other businesses and earn a living privately. But when a man goes home every month with some very large sum of money that he knows he cannot earn if he's not in office, he will do everything to remain in that office. And then at the end of every quarter, you give them some unexplainable sum they call constituency project sum to go and do what we do not know. So if you ask me again, should we alter the constitution? Yes, we should. Should we amend it? Oh, yes, we should. Should we jettison it? Is it so bad? No, it's not so bad. The problem we have, much as there are some other parts of the constitution, like, for instance, I want us to pull down the exclusive list, empower the states to manage their resources, and remit a percentage, not more than 20 or 30, to the federal government, so that we know states that are viable. Let states have their policing, so that we know that states can secure their people without the fear of an overlord from Abuja imposing a commissioner of police on them. Let us have industries in the states. For me, that was when Nigeria was great. That was when we had the pyramids. That's when cocoa was the in thing in the West. Go through the states.
But that's the thrust of the 1963 Constitution. Regionalism.
Yes.
Where powers resided in the regions.
In the regions, but we do not have regions anymore, so we cannot go 63.
I mean states now. Can the power not go to the states now?
That is my exact submission, that we can now devolve power, reduce the power up there, and distribute them amongst the states, the federated units, so that they can on their own solve in terms, so that they can even be competition among states. And I'll give you an instance. If you earn salary that is sufficient for your upkeep, you will not be able to dream big. Every month, you know that I will fly to Abuja and I will come back with a massive bag of money. You can't spend time to invest locally. And because you come back with billions, it is easier to steal from those billions. Unlike a situation where you are having return of investment periodically from your state of millions trickling in, you can't pull 10 million out of 50 million profit in a month. But if you bring in your billions, you can just say, you know what, cut out 6 billion out of this. Next month we'll get another one, then we'll balance our books. So the point is this: a 99 constitution as amended or with its alterations, can be further amended or further altered to suit our local reality. If they talk about the 63 Constitution, the 63 Constitution cannot even solve the digital problems of today. Because what has moved past 1963? We are now in a world where we want to accommodate all the intrigues, the dynamics of world economy in our constitution or in our law books. All this reason why we are going back. Why exactly are we fixated with our past in this country?
Okay,
Now-
sorry, let me just ask this. You know, about fixing issues of insecurity and economy, the federal government seems to be fixated now on regulating the social media. Because according to the Minister of Information, he says that it's through the social media, the fake news being promoted on the social media that is hitting the polity, that is causing people to take arms against one another, that is causing our economy to decline. What's your take on that? Are they going the right way in fixing insecurity and the economy by taking up that project and call it a project?
The problem, I think, with respect to that thought line is the lack of balance. Much as social media is promoting or has promoted over time fake news, it is not true that the reason our economy is dying is because of social media. And I need someone, because I read somewhere, which I think they have now denied, that the Attorney General would prosecute any person using Twitter. And I said in a forum of some learned friends that I hope my very good friend and the learned Sikh Attorney General has not mistaken the general in the attorney to mean that it's a military general. He's first of all a lawyer, and he should think he should think about what happened to those that came before him, Jan Doka and others. I remember that he would return back to us, his primary constituency, when time with him shall be no more in that office. Having said that, the social media has contributed more positively to Nigeria than it has damaged us. There are a lot of wonderful things going on in the social media by young Nigerians, and when you read their thoughts and their product, you'll be amazed what they are doing with social media. And to think that you wake up one day and deprive them their constitutional rights is worrisome. It's worrisome. And if that is the only solution they think they have to solving our economic problem, they should please step aside, because ban social media for all you care. That will not push the naira up when they are exporting nothing. That will not make the man on the road have better earnings or better living. So it is, for want of better, I try as much as I can not to use negative words, but we are in very negative times. And if you truly want to speak the truth, or your truth, it will come a bit colored with some negativism. Now, much as one is avoiding some terms, every time I listen to Uncle Lai Mohammed, I wonder how he's able to sleep at night. With the kindest respect to him. And my greater pain is that these are persons that champion democracy. These are persons that use this social media that they want to ban to elevate themselves into these high offices. And what has happened to them? Power has changed everything.
But still, along the line of fixing the insecurity issue, we are aware that in the past, the federal government actually came up with a policy of carrot and stick, where he actually introduced the policy of
Amnesty?
amnesty. Yes, thank you. How would you assess that? And then recently, federal government seems to be changing its style. Shoot at sight anybody that carries AK-47, and that the military should really engage and crush whoever the bandits are or the Boko Harams and all that. So how would you juxtapose? How effective do you think this would be?
I do not think amnesty was a success. I think amnesty was food for the boys. I think amnesty was used to settle some elements, particularly in the Niger Delta region. I had a reason to engage a friend in Ogbia local government some time back, and we drove from Port Harcourt to Yenagoa, then to Ogbia, and I saw poverty in its real form. And I saw on the narrow route to Ogbia, very narrow route, I saw one house littered, and I asked, who's that? I said, oh, one of the old militants. I said, what about these persons? Now, how do you, because it beats me, how do you provide for a criminal? How do you make provisions for a criminal and abandon the victims of the crime? Now, look at what they are doing to the Boko Haram repented lots. You spend billions. I have not heard where they are trying to rehabilitate, re-educate, properly dress and address the victims of the insurgents in the northeast. We see them in the camps. We see how they are dehumanized. And how do you expect a soldier tomorrow? I read one funny post, the beauty of social media. How a soldier who lost all the members of his troop in one of the attacks in the northeast saw on the social media or on print media the Boko Haram members who attacked them were dressed in kaftans and having a feast with the government. How do you think, whilst the widows of his colleagues were out there protesting and begging for the entitlement, nothing special, nothing extra, the entitlement of their husbands? How do we think in this country? How do our politicians process? I mean, you see, sometimes when we suggest that there should be a mental health evaluation of all public officers in this country, it's not because we're just being extreme. I strongly believe that a reasonable percentage of them are mentally unstable, because it's only an unstable mind that will process such extreme policies. To say, okay, the criminal you have repented, take 5 million. Oh, your father died. Ah, yes. So sorry about the death of your father. The government will see what we can do about your situation, but please go back to the camp. What moral justification or excuse can you give to that reasoning?
But let me deviate a little. Still talking about fixing insecurity. I read recently of a particular, would I say, entrepreneur. Somebody is engaged in supplying food to the insurgents and all that, and was making about 70,000 naira daily. That's on one hand. Then on the other hand, I've also read about those who are recruited into the insurgency group, who are earning fat salary, 350, 400,000 naira monthly.
Yes.
Now,
Sorry, before you even ask that question, you know there are those who they call hostage negotiators too.
Mm-hmm.
Those are people too who are feeding fat on these issues of insecurity. They said even the military refer you to hostage negotiators. They are the ones who will negotiate with the bandits or the kidnappers for you to now pay. So just
Okay,
buttress
so
what you're
I'm
saying.
asking, with this debilitating economy that we're actually experiencing, would it not be attractive for people to actually work from the other end, from the other side? I mean, so whilst trying to solve it, do you think we can actually get an end to it when the economy is biting so hard and they can get a promise of a better future on the other hand?
For those of us who lived and grew up in this country in the 70s and the 80s, it is difficult to advise our children on the reward for hard work. In the recent years, the average Nigerian mind has come to the realization that crime is the most lucrative form of earning other than pastoring. So beyond the 350 that comes to these persons and the one who feeds the insurgents, it is in the mind of an average Nigerian that to make it to the next level, I must commit a crime, or I decide to live at the lower level and be an upright man. Because it's our new reality. Now, how do you curb this? The only way to curb it again is to ensure that these persons that you have discovered are adequately punished. Once there's no deterrent for offenses, there will be an outburst of similar crimes within the particular locality. So, whether we can solve it by watching this happen and hoping that, the purity of the heart of an average Nigerian will make him not, or will not sway him to that crime, that would be being naive, and we'll be deceiving ourselves more, because you ask yourself, how do they recruit? Some will say they are from Niger, others will say, they are from Chad. But the majority of these persons are Nigerians. And I said to someone recently, I was like, we have labeled a tribe or a people as criminals. We have called out the Fulanis as being responsible for virtually all the atrocities in the country. That they are the herdsmen, they are the bandits, they are the kidnappers. What I simply asked, what happened to the criminals we had in the south? Have they all repented? Because suddenly, there are no other crimes like kidnapping and banditry. Other than the petty stealing you have around, the major crime, the armed robbery, is no longer on. So, a thinking man will say to you that people have now delved into more lucrative, more lucrative business, and all you need to do to look like a Fulani man is to dress like one. If unfortunately you are caught, you pretend not to hear English, and then you attack the Fulani man. But what the very unthinking and unreasonable northern elites, Fulani elites to be specific, have succeeded in doing with their appointments all around is that they have created a situation where, ignorantly I must say, where their tribesmen are now endangered species in Nigeria. In the next few years, you will see, you will give meaning to these lines. They have created a situation where their tribesmen are now endangered species in this country. Because now when we think crime, or we think of the pain of banditry, we think of kidnapping, we think of looting, we think of corruption, subconsciously, we tie it to a tribe. And as humans, once you continue tying a particular tribe to all your problems, the next thing that will come to the mind of that human being and the people around them is to exterminate.
All right,
So they are endangering their people by their act, ignorantly.
All right, sir. So what would be your word to
Your parting
Nigerians?
words.
Yes.
My parting words to
Coping with
Nigerians. My parting words to Nigeria is in two forms. Do not give up. The easiest thing to do now is to be depressed, is to be hopeless, is to believe that there's no hope. Do not fall into that category. What you can do for yourself, if you have age, get into a political party. Register in a political party, participate from your ward, get involved in what would happen in your country in 2023, so that they will no longer have the opportunity to elect from their likes.
Thank you so much, sir, for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
It's really been a very interesting discussion this morning, and we also want to thank you for tuning in and being a part of the program. My name is Jumoke Michael. See you again on Wednesday. Bye-bye.
Let me also do a little test. Our guest has been Joe, a boy.
You got it right.
I got it right.
Yes, you did.
Yes, my name is Banji Busari. See you on Wednesday. Bye-bye.